call the roll of the city council members to go on the record as in attendance.
Councilmember Snow,
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza, absent. Councilmember LeBaron, absent. Mayor Pro Tem Gastill,
Here.
Mayor Vasquez.
Here.
We have a quorum of the city council.
Thank you. I will ask, Councilmember Snow to lead us in the pledge.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are none.
Thank you so very much. We do not have any presentations tonight, and so we will move directly into our general public comment portion of the meeting. During the general public comment portion of this meeting, the public may express their concerns not pertaining to items on the agenda tonight. Please note that according to state law, the city council is not permitted to respond to any comments expressed by the public. If appropriate, staff will be directed to follow up with the speakers, or the topic may be brought to the city council for further consideration at a future date. Per Living Grove Municipal Code, Chapter 2.14.150, all remarks must be addressed to the city council as a body and not to any one individual council member. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes. When speaking, please observe the green, yellow, and red light timer at the podium. The red light indicates that it is time for the next speaker to approach the podium to begin speaking. I'll check with our city clerk to see if we have any speaker slips. And tonight we will start with Winfred Green, followed by Ellen Stone.
Good evening. I'm here for the city for here.
I'm sorry, if you could please speak in the mic. Yeah. Bring it up so that we can capture your comments.
I'm here for the same purpose I was here 7 months ago, and that is, about KB Homes not working under compliance. Maurice came here on July 4th. They have worked 7 days a week, around the clock. Workers will start at 6 a.m. and end between 7 to 8 p.m. And another crew will come on, and they begin working at 8 p.m. and work until 5:45 in the morning and 6 a.m. in the morning. He said I had to deal with all my day off, all day long. You'll be on the 27th of this. Now, the law says, Municipal Code 9.24.120, construction equipment, it says, it is unlawful for any person, including the city, to operate any single or combination of power construction equipment at any construction site on Sundays, on any day celebrating official state holidays. I sent, the city manager an email asking her to, remind KB Homes not to work on that day, because it was a holiday. She responded saying that they were going to observe Saturday instead. I realized that a private company had an option to go against what the state had deemed as a state holiday. But if you think they didn't work on that day, you got another thought coming from the company working on that day. They did something on that day. They had equipment delivered and someone was hammering on that day. My day was destroyed because of that. Also too, I did call the sheriff as I advised the city manager that I would do. And the sheriff had the same comment that the city manager had, that they would observe Saturday. The law is the law. And everyone should be treated equally with this law. There are other construction companies around the city, 3 other ones that are closed on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. I've been around on different holidays and found those closed and they're open. Why is it that they are allowed to work on these days? Do they have some kind of special agreement along with the city that we don't know about? But this is how corruption enters into an organization, where you break the law for one group of people. So I'd like you guys to really address them. Now, another holiday is coming on Thursday, Thanksgiving. I'll let you know about Thanksgiving Day. Thank you. Now, and also, if these laws are unenforceable, or no one possesses the authority to enforce them, you need to get rid of them. Because it gives us the false hope that there is hope out there, but it's not.
Thank you so very much. Next, we have Ellen Stone, followed by John L. Wood.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ellen Stone. I'm co-founder of the local chapter of the American Tiny House Association. And I am here to offer our support for any interest that the city of Lemon Grove has in creating an ordinance to allow for a movable tiny home to be added to your ADU type of development. This is a more affordable type of ADU, which I know because I am one of the first to implement in the city of San Diego as a homeowner since they legalized the option in 2020. It was a third of the cost of a traditional ADU construction, which made it possible for me and my husband to rent at a lower cost to a student who was needing affordable housing to finish their education. So myself and other members of the local chapter of the American Tiny House Association are happy to offer our assistance, answer any questions, or if that's something that you all are interested in pursuing and want to learn more about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much. Next, we have John L. Wood, followed by Brenda Hammond.
John Elwood. First thing is, the SDG&E transmission power pole stumps are still on federal. SDG&E doesn't care how the city looks, but when you got a couple stumps and, sitting there. Okay, Federal Boulevard, eastbound, the left turn lane at College, prior to the crosswalk, has a dip in it. I told you about this when Mr. Jones was still here. Several years ago, the city completely redid the circle area of College and Federal because the dirt is like gumbo. And it sinks all the time. On Sunday, Miller Toyota has a mobile Myriad truck show up so they can sell their stuff in the receiving area. And they just happen to, they're not supposed to have any external noise. PA noise, band music, anything like that over at Toyota. And it went on for probably about 2, maybe 3 hours. Just letting you know that this did happen, and if it happens again, you don't know about it again. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Next, we have Brenda Hammond, and this will complete our public comment portion of the meeting.
Hello. I get that we need informants, especially this time of year, you know, the ones that pretend to be homeless. And we need them in Lemon Grove. In case you all forgot, Lemon Grove was a big part of 9/11. However, the informants should not be getting high and drunk all day and night on the taxpayers' money. I get that they have to play the part of being homeless, but sleeping wherever they want and leaving a mess behind should not be allowed. Example, the damage that was done at the History Museum in Trevanta Park. Hanging out at businesses without permission and leaving a mess, including poop and pee, is happening more and more every day. Would someone please explain to the businesses and property owners what they need to do? Call the sheriff's department. Stop worrying about faking niceness and being retaliated against. Especially stop worrying about some of the informants were created by and used by certain church groups that make them believe they're protected and have them use their EBT for tidings. I've seen it. That is a subject that'll be continued when I have more time to explain. Which leads me to when there's an event in a park, the sponsor needs to pick up the mess, including the no parking signs that are graciously put out by our Public Works Department. Please stop relying on an already strapped Public Works to put them away. Put them in a truck or a safe place so they don't get stolen and cost the city more money. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Consent calendar, I'd like to see if we have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
I'll ask our city clerk to call the roll.
The motion was made by Councilmember Snow, and the second was made by Mayor Pro Tem Castillo. Roll call vote. Councilmember Snow,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza, absent. Councilmember LeBaron,
Councilmember LeBaron, I'll be voting no, approving the consent calendar.
Mayor Pro Tem Castillo,
Aye.
Mayor Vasquez,
Aye.
the motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a public hearing updating massage establishment regulations. City clerk, have all the notices required by law been given, and are the complete file of exhibits, correspondence, and other documents, have those been provided?
Madam Mayor, all notices as required by law have been provided, and all documents and corresponding exhibits have been provided and are on file with the clerk's office.
Thank you so very much. And I will ask our attorney, to check in with the council members to see if they have any disclosures, conflicts of interest relating to this particular item.
Councilmember LeBaron, do you have any disclosures or conflicts to report?
I do not.
Councilmember Snow, do you have any conflicts or contacts to report?
No disclosures or contacts.
Mayor Pro Tem Castillo, do you have any contacts or disclosures or conflicts to report?
No.
Mayor Vasquez, do you have any conflicts, disclosures, or contacts to?
No. Thank you so very much. I will now introduce Michael Fellows, the Community Development Manager, to present the staff report, and also note that Councilmember LeBaron is here at the platform. Michael?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. Before I get started, I want to point out that staff has distributed a slip sheet of a small change to the draft ordinance that is both with the mayor and council at the dais and along with the handout at the public counter. This item here is proposed update to massage establishment regulations within the city of Lemon Grove. A little bit of background on massage establishments. Prior to 2009, the city of Lemon Grove had classified massage establishments as an adult entertainment use that was limited to the general commercial and subject to distance requirements. Effective 2009, the state of California passed the Massage Therapy Act that established the Massage Therapy Council, no longer allowed cities to classify massage establishments as adult entertainment uses, and required cities to treat massage as similar to other professional services. This act left the city of Lemon Grove with a lack of enforceable regulations for massage establishments. In 2014, the city adopted licensing regulations for massage establishments, primarily related to requiring those who perform massage to have a Massage Therapy Council certificate, and for businesses to identify those who are performing massage for their businesses. In 2015, a year later, the state repealed portions of the Massage Therapy Act and returned land use authority back to cities. Much of the land use authority, not full authority, much of the land use authority, including citing criteria. As mentioned, currently the Lemon Grove Municipal Code still identifies adult entertainment uses. It classifies massage as an adult entertainment use. This classification is unenforceable, but the requirements include 1,000 foot distance requirement from other adult entertainment uses, 500 feet from areas zoned for residential uses, and 600 feet from a variety of other sensitive uses, including church, schools, public playgrounds, park and recreation areas. However, these regulations, as mentioned, are not enforceable. In addition, the municipal code addresses massage in the chapter 8.20, but the regulations there are limited to licensing requirements. Due to the lack of regulations in the code and an influx that staff saw in business license applications for massage establishments, staff approached the Planning Commission to see if they would be interested in creating, or if they would direct staff to develop draft regulations related to massage establishments. Planning Commission did express interest in working on an ordinance for massage establishments, and it ultimately led to 3 separate planning commissions where staff worked with Planning Commission to develop a draft ordinance, which is in front of you today. The first meeting occurred on August 28, 2023, and it was more of an informative meeting where staff brought the concerns to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission requested that staff provide more information. Specifically, Planning Commission wanted to see how other cities in the region were addressing massage establishments, and to get a better idea of the number of massage establishments currently operating within the city. Staff came back on September 25th, 2023 with information on 5 cities in the area, which included the cities of El Cajon, Escondido, National City, San Marcos, and Santee. Provided a matrix of regulations on how these cities were treating massage establishments. And then also provided a map that showed that there were 12 locations currently approved for massage in Lemon Grove, and showed the distance requirements between those establishments. At this meeting, Planning Commission deliberated on potential regulations, many of which are presented in the draft ordinance that's being presented to you today. Staff at the 3rd Planning Commission meeting brought an initial draft ordinance to Planning Commission, which further deliberated changes in the massage establishment regulations and directed staff to make changes to the draft ordinance. However, they were comfortable, planning commission was comfortable with staff bringing the draft ordinance to council with those changes. So the, result of those 3 meetings that we have had with council are in front of you today in this draft ordinance. The city of Lemon Grove currently has 12 approved massage establishments. Those establishments were all created after the Massage Therapy Act went into effect in 2009. Within a 1-year period between February 2022 and January 2023, staff received 4 business licenses applications where they created new massage establishments that are currently operating. There were 3 other requests for locations that were never completed and are no longer pending application. So this demonstrated the increase in the number of applications that staff had received in a relatively short time. This map here shows the current locations of massage establishments in the city. It shows how near where Broadway turns into Federal Boulevard, how there's a cluster of massage establishments over in that area. But there are some other locations scattered throughout the city. So the draft ordinance, draft ordinance 464, which is in front of you, proposes new regulations for massage establishments. This ordinance would create citing criteria that is not currently included in the code, and came through the deliberations with planning commission. And so the ordinance proposes to limit massage establishments to the general commercial zone, require a minor use permit be approved for massage establishments, a 1,000-foot distance requirement between massage establishments, and sets a cap of 8 massage establishments to be located in the city at any one time. This chart here shows the current distances between some of the massage establishments in town. As you can see, most of the massage establishments are closer than 1,000 feet to each other. Therefore, those locations would not meet the distance requirement location. Further, since there are 12 locations and the cap is proposed at 8, the current number of approvals would exceed the cap, which I'll discuss the results of that later. In addition to citing criteria, the draft ordinance also includes business operational requirements. And these requirements I have some listed here, which include the owners, past background, owners and managers of massage establishments, past background checks, and be on site at all times, so either the owner or the manager is on site. That the therapist have a California Massage Therapy Council certificate. There's additional requirements for advertising that the business specify in the advertisement, their Massage Therapy Council certificate number and their business license number. It would limit massage establishments, the draft ordinance would limit massage establishments from 9 a.m. operation hours from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. There's requirements for window visibility. A lot of the massage establishments block out the front lobby so you can't see into the business. There's a requirement that be visible. There's also requirements related to cleanliness and that the ordinance would actually adopt the Massage Therapy Act by reference. So as mentioned earlier, many of the existing locations would not meet the distance requirements and would also not meet, with the total number would exceed the allowable number of massage establishments in the city. The result of this is all the existing massage establishments would become legal non-conforming, and essentially they would be allowed to continue to operate until that use is abated. Abatement would be the business owner basically no longer continuing the use for 30 consecutive days. This isn't a circumstance where the city goes in there and says you have to close because you exceed the maximum number. It's a circumstance where, once a business closes and it's, inactive for 30 days, then no massage establishment could replace it in that location. And that would be also applicable to those businesses that don't meet distance requirements. Now, under the current municipal code, it's typically a 12-month timeline for non-conforming uses. So this 30-day abatement period would be specific to massage establishments. And the existing businesses would also be non-conforming for their operational requirements, things like not being able to see into the lobby. And there's several other requirements, maybe hours of operation, and the business operation requirements. In that case, they would only be grandfathered for 60 days. Once that's essentially legal non-conforming for those 60 days, after that 60 days, they would be expected to comply with the current ordinance as far as business operations go. Distinctively different from the citing criteria. In addition to the proposed regulations that are related to massage establishments, there are some other portions of the code that this draft ordinance would modify. One is the adult entertainment section of the municipal code. The reason being that the references to massage parlors are currently unenforceable and inconsistent with state law, so we just want to remove massage parlors from the adult entertainment section of the code. And then we have some changes to the general commercial zone, just specifying what we talked about, that massage establishments are limited to the general commercial zone and require a land use permit. And I do want to clarify that there's certain types of massage that these regulations wouldn't be applicable to, that they're exempt from these establishments. Things like physicians and surgeons and chiropractors, basically these medical type businesses, and then as an accessory use to like maybe a gym, they can still perform massage. So these regulations are specific to massage establishments where that's the primary use. Staff's recommendation is to conduct a public hearing, receive public comments, and introduce ordinance 464, adopting new massage establishment regulations for the city of Lemon Grove. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're here for questions.
Thank you so very much. And I will now open the public hearing and check with our city clerk to see if we have any speaker slips for this item. And we do have one speaker slip. I'll ask Brenda Hammond to lay the mic.
Hi, I went to all of those 3 meetings and sat in on everything. And I think it's a good idea to have those establishments here. A lot of people like to use massage instead of medication for pain relief. Also, as you know, I've been passing out flyers for the bonfire, and I've been into every single business in the city to pass out a flyer for them to hang in the window or whatever. And I've been in some of these massage establishments and have seen nothing hanky-panky going on or nothing wrong. They've all been clean, and they well received the bonfire flyer. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And we do not have any additional speaker slips. And so I will start with a round of questions from our elected officials here. We'll have 2 questions, and then we will do a round 2 of questions. And with the round 2, you will be able to ask 2 questions and provide comments. And so I will start with Councilmember LeBaron.
I don't have any questions this round. I'll have some round two once I hear from them. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Councilmember Snow?
So, one of the things I wanted a little clarification on it is why we decided to go with a minor use permit process rather than a conditional use permit process. And just a little bit about the rationale behind that, and why we felt that that would be the more appropriate path for these businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. Planning Commission, staff presented 3 options to Planning Commission. We proposed the option of just making it a business license process where they meet the code, massage establishment meets the code, and it's approvable. Then we presented 2 discretionary options, one which was the minor use permit, one which was a conditional use permit. Of the 2 options, the minor use permit is the less intensive, or a discretionary action, it tends to be the less expensive. Our costs are based on the amount of time spent processing an application, and of the 2, the minor use permit tends to take less time than the conditional use permit. Further, the minor use permit is a community development manager decision instead of requiring a public hearing in front of the planning commission. The community development manager decision is appealable to planning commission also if anyone has concerns about the decision that's made. And so ultimately planning commission decided that was the process they preferred, since it still allowed each location to be looked at on a case-by-case basis for unique concerns where we could apply conditions of approval. However, it wasn't as difficult or time-consuming or expensive as a conditional use permit process.
And then this process won't apply to the existing ones, but to only new ones coming up. Is that correct?
That's correct, in that the existing locations would not have to apply for a minor use permit. Although some of the operational requirements are effective, they would not have to come in for that new minor use permit application.
Mayor Pro Tem Gaskel?
I don't have any questions.
And I do not have any questions at this time, so I will implement round 2, starting with Councilmember LeBaron.
Let's see. I think a lot of this is pretty straightforward. Actually though, one thing I'm curious is, how many days are the current massage parlors going to have to prepare for the change that they need to make? Is it as of today, in 60 days, or were they told 3 months ago?
It would be 60 days after the effective date of this ordinance that they would have to be compliant. However, there's also the implementation side. We haven't got too much on the implementation, but that also would take a little bit of time. So we would approach them, try to educate them first, and give them time to comply. But in the ordinance, it's specified that they have 60 days from the effective date of the ordinance to comply with it.
Thank you, Mr. Fellows. Also with this, I noticed with the intention is wanting to limit the number of massage parlors that there are in the city. That's the short and sweet of this. Now we're suggesting that we codify these changes so that we can see that vision of having less massage parlors, I assume, actually come to fruition, right? And part of that, and wanting to limit the number of massage parlors that there are, is that we're now requiring that they do a minor use permit, or like a zoning clearance, correct? We can say that, that's what that is, akin to, and then we're requiring that they be 1,000-foot distance requirement between one massage parlor to the other, and that's what the intent did. They're spaced out, because there's the intention to limit the number of them. I just wanted to draw out, or point out that the same way, well, I think it's interesting that we're requiring the minor use permit and the 1,000-foot distance for the massage parlors, yet in recent meetings, there seemed to be this ambiguity or wanting to skew of the rules from having to require MEPs for medical marijuana dispensaries, being that those are multi-million-dollar businesses where a lot of issues can come from people being too, like medical marijuana dispensaries being too close to another. So I think it's curious that for massage parlors, we're requiring the minor use permit. I understand, I'm not saying that I don't agree. Yet I find it odd that for this business, we're requiring an MEP, and for other businesses, in this example that I'm giving, medical marijuana dispensaries, there seems to be a changing the rules as we go as to who's required to have an MEP and who's not. I want to point that out. Thank you.
Councilmember Snow?
So what are we doing to outreach to the members of our community, these business massage places, to let them know about their need to change their business operations within 60 days of passage? Right? Do we have a plan for how we're going to notify them? And do we think that that is a sufficient amount of time to allow compliance?
Currently, we've been more focused on the development of the regulations. We haven't really got detailed in the implementation side of it on how we're gonna approach them. Kind of the transitional stage, we haven't really focused on at this point. But I certainly have been putting some thought to it, and there would be an educational side. Like, I want to create a handout that simplifies some of these standards, and bring that to the current massage establishments, show them what the regulations are, and then give them time and work with them. You know, of course, there becomes a point where we have to draw lines, so you have to comply. But I'm anticipating, you know, and we haven't had to do, I'm anticipating that process will probably take longer than the 60 days before we get to what we're implementing. But we definitely start with warnings, you know, before education, warnings, and could potentially be the citations at some point. But that wouldn't be that wouldn't be, you know, in the first 2 months or right after the 2 months start. I don't anticipate it being that quick.
Can you let me know exactly, when we talk about business operations have to be implemented within 60 days, can you go ahead one more time and just specify what those business operations are that they have to comply with in that time period?
Yeah, there's quite a list of them in the ordinance, but the big ones are the hours of operation. So they'd be limited to operate till 9 p.m. where currently there is no limitation on the hours that massage establishments can operate. In addition to that, there's requirements related to sanitation in the requirements. You know, I can. It can include, advertisement restrictions. We're going to require that they put their business license number and their massage therapy council number on all advertisements. Background checks for owners and operators. Ownership change actually would, this is an important one that I haven't touched on yet. Ownership change would also require a background check. So before a new change of ownership, the new owner would have to pass a background check. A complete description of all services that are to be provided by the massage establishment, clearly placed and visible to the public. A list of all massage technicians operating the business and with their California Massage Therapy Council's massage therapy technician. It's that technician certificate. California Massage Therapy Council certificate. Thank you. And that those certificates be available and visible. Clean towels, pressurized water available when there's water that's hot and cold available. An owner, operator, or designee must be on the premises at all times. Maintain written record of each massage service provided and furnish this to the city upon request. Shall not block exterior window visibility into the reception area. And there's some prohibited conduct things like consumption of alcohol, reporting patrons, and other things related to the operation of the business. And the things such as they have to allow us in for inspection.
Ms. Snow, I do want to add on to the communication, just like we did with the tobacco retailing license and other implementations of business that are currently existing. We do a lot of outreach to the businesses, and in fact, individual invitations for this meeting with this agenda item was sent out to every single business, so we get them to this meeting so they understand what's coming forward. But we won't be enforcing anything, even though, say, the deadline is 6 months or 60 days after the implementation. We're gonna have a long lead period because we're about education and compliance and not about enforcement. So we're gonna give everybody ample opportunity to work with city staff and to work with the code enforcement officer to come into compliance and hold their hand all along the way.
Mayor Pro Tem Gaston.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you so much, and I think an update, to our policies here, long overdue. And, this is the perfect time to actually do just that. One thing that I think is important is that, there's a timeline established for notification, implementation, and enforcement. And the perfect time to ensure that the 12 businesses that exist here in the city receive some type of notification is when they apply for their business license. So if we can have something available for those businesses and we start the whole application process for business licenses, I think that would be of value. But also too, once everything is in place, ensuring that there's a period where enforcement is shared in notifying those businesses so that they are aware that soon the enforcement will begin. So those are my comments regarding this particular agenda item. And regarding the timeline, I'd like to know when could we see something come forward that could be shared with the 12 businesses?
So, Madam Mayor, the timing with the business license and inserting it is almost there. Staff is actually in the midst of preparing the renewal business licenses for all 400 plus businesses in town. What we could do is we could manually pull back the 12 businesses after the council, assuming that the council introduces the ordinance, and then assuming that the council approves the ordinance at the December 5th meeting. Staff will then prepare the informational piece that we can insert in the, as an insert to those business license of the affected businesses. So we'd have to hold them back, and I'll work with the business license division to extend the grace period for business licenses, because they're all due January 1. We do a 30-day grace period for all businesses, and then code enforcement or code compliance actually visits the business to make sure that they comply starting mid-February. But we can have some allowance for them, and I'll work with business license to maybe perhaps give these businesses an extra 2 weeks to comply with their business license. Meanwhile, after we do that initial, staff will do specific outreach to those businesses again, to again assure that they're aware of all of the changes that are coming in the next 3 to 6 months. And then a deadline of when they have to comply, and then if they don't comply, we'll work with them into the code compliance process. And as I've said, since I've been here, code compliance is about complying with the code, not necessarily issuing fines.
Additionally related, Mayor, the staff did send notification of this hearing to each of the business owners for the massage establishments. Although it's not required for public noticing of this item, staff did send letters to each one of those business operators to notify them of this hearing.
And thank you for being proactive in bringing them in regarding the changes that are proposed tonight. I do not have any additional comments or questions. I will check with staff to see if you have any additional comments that you'd like to provide before we move forward. And with that said, it is now time to close the public hearing, but I need a motion.
I'd like to move to close public hearing.
And I'll second. Councilmember LeBaron.
We have a motion and a second, and I'll turn this over to our city clerk.
Motion was made by Councilmember Snow, second by Councilmember LeBaron. Roll call vote. Councilmember Snow,
Aye.
Councilmember LeBaron,
Councilmember LeBaron, aye.
Councilmember Mendoza, absent. Mayor Pro Tem Gastel,
Aye.
Mayor Vasquez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now that, the public hearing is closed, I'll check with our council members to see if they have, any final comments regarding this item. I'll start with Councilmember LeBaron.
I have no comments, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Snow.
I really appreciate the time and effort that the planning commission and our staff have put into drafting this bill, helping make sure that we stay current with our laws. So thank you for that. There's a lot of hard work and thought that went into this, and I really appreciate that. From a business standpoint, oversaturation doesn't help anybody. And I think we had 8 massage establishments from like February of 2022, and then all of a sudden we doubled that number almost, 7 new applications within 11 months. And so I think it was really prudent, and the timing was important to bring this forward now. And to be able to protect the businesses that are here. And so now we have 12. This isn't really going to impact or change their establishments. It will require some compliance, but I think we've really focused on communicating that, and I thank you for the diligent efforts to make sure that they were privy to this meeting, and I hope by them not being here and throwing major opposition up, that's a sign that they are okay with these types of regulations. And I think the proposed business operations adjustments will increase public safety. Transparency and being able to see in sheds light on what's going on inside. I think the business hour ranges make sense. People still can get their massages in a pretty 12-hour window, so I think that's a good option. And the other ones are just pragmatic, common sense regulations. You know, we want to go into clean establishments. We want people to be certified to do the type of work that they're doing. So this really makes a lot of sense, and I'm thankful for the time that went into this. So I would like to make a motion to introduce ordinance 464 for adoption regarding the new massage establishment regulations for the city of Lemon Grove.
Thank you so very much, and we do have a motion, and now I will turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Gaston.
I'll second the motion.
And we have a motion and a second, and I will thank staff and everyone involved in the process to bring this forward for our discussion tonight, and to establish clarification regarding where we're going in the future as it relates to massage parlors. So we do have that motion, and we do have a second. I'll ask our city clerk to call the roll.
Motion was made by Councilmember Snow, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gastel. Roll call vote. Councilmember LeBaron,
Councilmember LeBaron, aye.
Councilmember Snow,
Aye.
Councilmember Mendoza, absent. Mayor Pro Tem Gastel,
Aye.
Mayor Vasquez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 3 is the small business establishment regulations, and I'll turn this over to City Manager Lydia Romero to present the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I push the button. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council members. This item came as a request from the City Council appointees Mayor Pro Tem Gaston and Councilmember Snow to join the other cities and county to create a revolving loan program for small businesses in the region that would be headed by the East County Economic Development Council. That's a lot of words, or the ECEDC. The city of El Cajon is the initial, is the first city to allocate some seed money to this particular effort of $300,000. Talking with my colleagues in the other two cities, they've also committed to participate in the program at a tune of $40,000 each. Lemons Grove's initial commitment to participate in the program is $20,000. And we hope that the county will then participate with the remaining $100,000 for a total of $500,000 that we can then leverage with other SBA loans, other grant loans, to create a large revolving pool and to give to small and micro businesses. Mr. James Sly, the Executive Director of the ECEDC, is here to talk about the program specifics and how this will benefit our small and micro businesses in Lemon Grove. So if I can have Mr. Sly come up to the podium, he is part of the presentation because he knows all of the mechanics about this wonderful, great program and how much money this $500,000 will leverage. Mr. Sly, if you want to just pick it up and talk to it, that would be perfect.
I could probably speak without this. Obviously, I'm sitting 10 feet away from you guys, but tonight I'm here to answer any questions you have about the revolving loan program, perhaps an overview of what we hope it's going to look like. And I'll start with saying that the goal for this effort is to pull together $500,000 across all of our East County municipalities so that we can then reach out to the federal government to go out for matching funds. And we would use those matching funds to provide loans to small businesses in East County who might not otherwise be recipients or traditional targets for financing, right? So think of your small mom and pop shops, the places that aren't normally able to get funding through large traditional banks, Wells Fargo, Chase, etc. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Our plan is to assemble the $500,000, submit an application to the Economic Development Administration for matching funds, creating a loan pool of $1 million. For those, I think most of you on the dais are already familiar with the East County Economic Development Council, but just in case, for anybody listening outside, our mission is to attract funding and investment into the region. And as part of that effort, we are constantly going after funding from the state, federal government, numerous philanthropic partners to again try to draw money back to East County. For this effort, our plan is to assemble again $500,000 from our local municipalities here, and eventually turn that into an $8.5 million lending. So I can walk you through the roadmap for how we're intending to do that, but it sounds like I'm getting the head nod for yes, I should do that. So our plan is to get the $500,000 from our cities and county, to apply for that $500,000 through PDA, which will assemble a lending pool of $1 million. And then from there, we'll use that lending experience to apply for a grant through the Small Business Administration to become small business microlenders. The SBA will allocate up to $6 million to grow their lending pool, and you can see how that goes from our $500,000 investment to about $7 million. After that, we're going to be reaching out to other federal agencies like the Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, to try to attract other funds. Many of these federal agencies also have revolving loan programs, small business lending programs. I should clarify that under our agency, the Economic Development Council, we also run the Small Business Development Center over East County. And we train about 2,000 small businesses a year, 2,000 entrepreneurs, ranging from everyone with a napkin sketch and a good idea, people who've been in business for 40 years and are looking to exit or pass it on to their children or sell their company. As far as what types of businesses we'll be targeting, again, we're going to be looking for people who are not traditional targets for financing funding through our larger institutions. We're looking at lending instruments probably in the realm of $5,000 to $80,000, $5,000 to $100,000, somewhere in there. We'll flesh all of that out with EDA and then continue to refine it as we reach out to the Small Business Administration. We're not asking you for any money to run this. That's on me to go find that funding someplace else. Perhaps some of our philanthropic partners or other grant writing efforts. All of the money that you hopefully allocate tonight, that $20,000, we're going to double and then give it back to East County businesses. So think I've hit the highlight reel, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
And just to conclude, staff recommends that the city council allocate $20,000 from the general fund reserves. And the reason why I'm specifically asking for general fund reserves is because this was not even thought of or even discussed during the budget implementation. And I can't use ARPA monies because that's federal funds. You can't use federal funds to leverage other federal funds. So it has to come from general fund reserves. And just to let the council know, when we adopted the budget, we were over 45% on our general fund reserves. We ended, as of July 1 of 23, we were over $90 million for our general fund reserves. So we are the $20,000 won't have a significant impact on drawing down reserves if the council chooses to allocate that funds for this wonderful regional program.
And if I can clarify, something I should have mentioned earlier, so the way the federal government works, especially the Economic Development Administration, is that it's a dollar for dollar match. So if you're wondering why we're trying to assemble $500,000, that's because that is the smallest lending pool, the smallest loan pool that they'll assemble. If we had $1 million, they'd give us $1 million. With $500,000, they'll give us $500,000. And to City Manager Romero's comments, it can't be ARPA funding, sadly. So, again, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so very much. And I get 2 rounds of questioning here, with the elected officials. And, but before I do that, I will check with our city clerk to see if we have any speaker slips. And as I understand, there are no speaker slips, and so I will start with, Councilmember LeBaron.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Slang, during your presentation. How are Lemon Grove, or how are small business owners in Lemon Grove going to find out that they can apply for a loan through the EBCDCCCE?
So you might not be aware of this, but we already coach and consult hundreds of your businesses every year. East County Small Business Development Center coaches about 2,000 East County entrepreneurs every year. Many of those are Lemon Grove businesses, both residents here who are interested in starting businesses and existing businesses, like your restaurants, your retail establishments, your professional service agencies. And we already have a very vast sort of marketing infrastructure that's associated with that Small Business Development Center. And we'll leverage that to make sure that Lemon Grove business owners and residents know that this funding is available and targeted towards them.
And then I was being facetious when I said EBCBD. Well, actually, this is recorded, and there are people who are listening to these audio recordings, and I by no means want to confuse them. So it's actually going to be factual and accurate. It's you say the acronym, please.
Yeah, ECEDC, or East County Economic Development Council.
Thank you.
Councilmember Snow?
Thank you so much for coming down. It's great to be part of the East County EDC. You've brought a lot of great things to our community, and I really appreciate it, not to mention the gift card program. So, and that's been wildly successful, and we're grateful to be able to participate in this new program. When I was there at the presentation, we talked, I understood that if we got this $1 million, like dollar for dollar, that we could also leverage that or somehow manage to get to, I had written down my notes, 8.7 million. Can you tell me about that, or if that's still a possibility?
Yeah, so the intent is that we will assemble this $500,000. We'll get that dollar for dollar match through the EDA, the Economic Development Administration. That'll bring our lending pool to a $1 million total. Once we've established that we know what we're doing, that we can make loans that are legal and compliant and effective, then we'll apply to the Small Business Administration for an additional $6 million of lending capital. Once we've received that, we'll again go after money through the Department of Agriculture. I'll use them as an example because they also have a revolving loan program that can grant up to $1.5 million a year. So just through those 3 agencies, you're looking at growing a lending pool from your $20,000 investment into about $8.5 million.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, within about 15 months, I'd say.
That's really impressive. We live here in Lemon Grove in basically a commercial desert. We have a number of personal banks that I went around trying to find a commercial lender within our community, and there was none to be had. And so we have to go outside of our county, or our city to be able to do that. So I'm grateful for you to bring commercial lending dollars here. Can you tell me a little bit about what the loan terms would look like?
The loan terms are defined by the EDA and by the SBA when we eventually accumulate their funding as well. So they define things like interest rates and capitalization rates and things like that. As far as the underwriting, we'll actually be managing all of that in-house. So we'll be handling things like the credit checks, we'll be handling things like the personal financial statements, and all the financial accounting and underwriting that goes into a student loan. The goals and terms will be sort of fleshed out in negotiation with EDA, so I have the numbers for tonight. But the assumption again is that they are generous to small business owners. The intent of the program is to fund people who might not have a lot of collateral, who might not have a really robust credit score, who might not have $250,000 a year of annual household income. So we'll be taking all of that into consideration as we look to build our kind of underwriting criteria and negotiations with federal agencies.
Mayor Pro Tem Gastel?
Thanks. I'm wondering how we arrived at $20,000. If we're aiming for $500,000 from the East County, I was thinking that maybe like 1/10 of that would be $50,000. Did anybody have any comment on why 20,000?
So the city managers got together and did the math, and so it's city manager math. And what we talked about is, making sure that all of the jurisdictions and the incorporated jurisdiction had some skin in the game, and knowing, our financial envelope, that, we could probably handle 20 to 25,000. La Mesa and Santee said they would be committed for 40,000 each. And like I said, El Cajon was the initial seed money, and they committed $300,000. One, they're the largest city in East County. They have a lot more businesses that are participating, and they have a lot more businesses that might fall in different niches. So that's how the city manager sort of came up with the match. And that the county would then be on the hook for the $100,000. And now that we've got, our supervisor in District 4, and, Mr. Anderson is in District 5, I believe. Two. Between both of those supervisors, we think we would be able to collect the additional $100,000. So the county has skin in the game, so the county's unincorporated area of businesses would be able to benefit from this program as well, and their jurisdictional boundaries are a lot larger than sort of the incorporated cities.
And I'm guessing Santee's in something.
Yes. So yes, so La Mesa and Santee are kicking in 40,000 apiece. So, amongst the cities, the remaining cities, that's $100,000.
I think we're getting good enough easy, but I'm not gonna, I shouldn't complain. But yeah, I'm glad we have a picture for how we're getting. That's my only question.
And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for being part of the discussion in terms of what we can do to help our small, local, mom-pop businesses. It's hard out there. And having, just a few extra dollars that you can tap into could make the difference between making or breaking a business. So, my colleagues have pretty much asked the hard questions. The only thing that I'm curious to know, and I believe I saw that, you have to touch some of these other East County cities, although they've committed, taking it forward and getting approval on their side. And so once that approval is done, what does the timeline look like moving forward?
Yeah, and we should clarify that, the assumption or the hope rather is that each of our cities and our municipalities will contribute. Like when the city manager mentioned, Santee and La Mesa are hoping to put it before their city council in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And so assuming they're successful, we'll be able to assemble that $500,000. I'm very confident that we'll be able to pull together the amount of money we need to submit an application. As far as the timeline, the assumption with EDA is that it'll take them about a year to set up their microlending program. It won't take a year to start making loans, but when we submit an application, we'll submit a work plan that says, this month we're gonna do this month we're gonna finalize the underwriting criteria, this month we're gonna single that. If you're interested in seeing that down the road, I'm happy to share that with you, of course. I believe right now the intent is to start making loans at about month 9. So it'll take us about that long to separate bank accounts. Ironically, luckily, we already have a California lender's license that we've been running for a number of years. We've been working on this micro lending project and other instruments like this for about 2 years. So again, ironically, we already have a lot of our application and the underwriting criteria and some of that stuff kind of skeletoned out, and now it's moving to the negotiation piece of the year. So to answer your question, by about month 9, month 10 is when we'll start making our first loans. And prior to that, we do it all the ramp up, right? Again, making sure we have the right licensure, the right bank accounts, the right underwriting criteria. We'll obviously establish some kind of evaluation period to make sure that no one feels like, so everyone feels like they're being treated equitably, everyone feels like they're being fairly evaluated as they apply for these funds. And we'll be looking at establishing all of this over the following months.
And Madam Mayor, may I say that you, the appointees to the City Council of the ECEDC, could also give the council, reports after their particular meetings, depending on the progress. So your appointees can give the reports to the full council and the community as well.
And we'll obviously ensure that we're sharing all this data with all of our partners, our board members. And I think that, again, for the purposes of this evening, we're not asking for any money to underwrite or administer these funds, like I shared earlier. All of these funds will go directly to East County small businesses. We'll pull in the money to administer and do all the underwriting, all those activities we just talked about from other sources.
Thank you so very much. We'll do the second questioning, and I'll start with Councilmember Barron.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, actually, the first round when we went, I had one question, and the second one was asking them to clarify the acronym for the acronym. I have 3 questions. I'd like to ask if the second one was really just asking him to just clarify the acronym. I didn't know that you were gonna use that as one of my 2 questions. It's not really a substantial question, really. I have 3 this round. Do you think that you'd be able to let me ask the 3 questions? Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, so let's see. You may have answered this just now. However, something that comes to mind is, how many years does your organization have in lending? This is going to be a huge task, right? Lending money. So
yeah, eventually it'll ramp up to a very large task. Starting out, we'll probably have a handful of loans over the course of years. When you look at revolving loan funds that are operated, for example, by the City of San Diego, by the South County EDC, they've made hundreds of loans. So yes, eventually we'll be looking at scaling up. We got our California lender's license back in 2019. And so we've maintained that and all the reporting associated with that with the state of California since then.
but you haven't actually lended money yet, you just have the license as of 2019?
We were using it for consumer lending. We were using it for a different educational lending program, essentially to give people loans so they could go get better jobs. And through a consumer lending program. No, but for business lending, we haven't used the license for that purpose.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Slide. And then the second question is, this could be, well, I don't know, you tell me, Mr. Slide, or perhaps the city manager could answer this question. How much money does the city of Lemon Grove already pay or contribute toward ECEDC?
Our annual dues is $5,000. That's it.
Thank you. And then my third question is, what happens, because I know that you said that the organization needs $500,000 minimum in order to ask for that to be matched. What happens to our investment of $20,000 if the organization is not able to secure the minimum amount of money required?
That's a great question. I would absolutely want to know what happens to that check. So we won't be using it or even depositing it until we receive approval from EDA that we've been awarded. So the Economic Development Administration, when you're submitting your application, they require you to submit a letter saying that these funds have been committed, but they don't require me to demonstrate that it's in my bank account and I've already cashed the check and here it is. So In this case, if we were to apply and we were for whatever reason unsuccessful, your $20,000 would be, I assume, reabsorbed back into your general funds budget, through whatever your city policies look like.
Would it go back into general fund reserves? Okay, thank you.
I'll turn it over to Councilmember Snow.
They say money attracts money, and so I'm really excited about this and the opportunity to participate in this. And I wanted, just for everybody's knowledge, can you explain the revolving part of this? Because I think that's a really important aspect for a long-term commitment to be able to have this in our community. So can you explain what the revolving aspect is?
Yeah, and the long-term intent would be to decouple or decouple from the federal agencies in the long term, right? So 20 years from now, ideally, we would have generated enough money through the lending process that we're no longer tied to all the federal rules and all of the federal agency rules. In terms of the revolving loan piece, the intent behind it is that we would use this $1 million and eventually $7 million, $8.5 million. We would lend it out to our small business community in East County, and we would use the interest rate that they paid to replenish that loan pool to continue to be able to offer loans in the future and make sure that the program is sustainable. So any interest rates, any fees, all of that would be kind of repurposed back into the lending pool, and as people pay off their loans, it empowers us to lend out money to additional small businesses here in East County. That's the revolving piece. Well,
Excellent. And then, can you talk about, because when businesses come to you for these loans to the East County Economic Development Council, it's not just loans that you offer, it's basically wraparound services for businesses. So can you talk about some of the other things that our small businesses might be able to take advantage of when they come to you?
yeah, no, I'd love the opportunity. So again, we train several thousand East County small businesses through our center. Through our center alone, 2,000 about every year. Through the San Diego network, it's more like 15,000. So we are one of 10 centers throughout San Diego and Imperial County who all provide the service. We teach somewhere in the realm of 60 workshops a year on everything from how to write a business plan, to how to buy a building, how to hire employees and get the right insurance, how to get your business license correctly, everything you can imagine. And we have a number of advisors through both our center. At my center, I have 8 advisors who specialize in a wide variety of topics. And then across the network, we have more like 110. And all of those are available to all of our participants already, right? And so the Small Business Administration, in order to take advantage of their funds and bring in that additional $6 million, we have to be able to say that we're going to provide technical assistance. Well, for us, that's a really easy fit because we've already been providing technical assistance for thousands of these kinds of small businesses. So our hope is that we'll be able to braid these lending instruments with the technical assistance and coaching that will help them use that and employ that effectively, and that we'll all be able to kind of benefit from that as a community.
Mayor Pro Tem Gaston?
I don't have any more questions.
Thank you, and I just have one question for staff regarding our general fund reserve. And I just wanna make sure that, our reserves are okay. We wanna validate that, with the utilization of $20,000. And so if you could elaborate on that, that'd be great.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor, and as I said, using the general reserve fund number that we gave the council at the end of the beginning of the fiscal year, which is over $9.7 million, which is 45% over the required amount, which is 25% of our current operating budget. So our general fund reserves are strong, and I'm only looking at the reserve piece. I'm not looking at our 115 trust. So it's very strong at this point, and $20,000 would not hamper our reserves whatsoever for any emergencies that we would need the reserve funds for.
Thank you. And so, with a motion and a second and the support of us here at the platform, you're gonna have 9 months in 1 year, 9 months to get it all together and start processing loans. So I'll check to see if we have a motion.
I'll move that we adopt a resolution joining the East County Small Business Revolving Loan Program and allocate $20,000 from our general fund reserves for the fund.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
The Motion was made by Councilmember Snow, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gasdale. Roll call vote. Councilmember Mendoza, absent. Councilmember LeBaron.
Councilmember LeBaron, aye.
Councilmember Snow.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Gasdale.
Aye.
Mayor Vasquez.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have the council member meeting reports. This section of the meeting is dedicated to the oral reports from the city council about meetings attended at the expense of the city. A report should be a brief summary of meetings attended in your capacity as a city official. As a reminder, we want to be careful to keep these comments brief and to stay within the boundaries of the Brown Act. This includes matters that are not on the agenda tonight. And so I'll start with Councilmember LeBaron. And please note, you will have 2 minutes to complete your report.
Thank you. Most important to report, I suppose, would be that I recently had a meeting with residents to discuss the financial state of the city. Something that came up in those conversations was residents believe that the city is going to be going for another sales tax increase. And many of the residents that I spoke to actually expressed concern over how Measure S was put together last time. It was purported to be a citizens initiative, but many residents are under the impression or believe very strongly that Measure S was a fraud in the sense that it wasn't a citizens initiative. It was actually something that was put forward, packaged by city staffers, including the city manager, the city attorney, the mayor, city council members, and it then was asked of residents to just put their name on the measure and put it forward as a sham of a citizens initiative. So there was discussion about the potential for being what people assume is duped again by city officials with another sales tax initiative, which would circumvent having to go through, residents were saying, well, of course the city didn't have to go through city council because then it would require more votes, so they instead packaged it in a way that was very deceptive, made it seem like it was a citizens initiative, so that then it could supposedly come from the people and require less votes in order to pass as a tax increase. So I just had discussions with residents about that and just felt it was very important to report on that so that my colleagues know that in the forefront of many residents' mind is the state of our city, and they have a lot of concern about how it is that we are attempting, in their eyes, attempting to circumvent the vote and force tax
Thank you so very
increases on
much.
them.
Next, we have Councilmember Snow.
Thank you.
So on November 8th, I met with members of our mobile home community park here in Lemon Grove who received exorbitant increases in their rent. So I reached out to them, or they reached out to me, and we had the opportunity to meet and help them address their housing issues. Also on November 8th, I attended an Institute for Local Government training. I attended a policy meeting on helping secure good laws for credit screening and credit reporting. I also attended the Asian Business Association's Women's Leadership Council, and there I learned of a success story here in Lemon Grove. Chani's Donuts was able to open their doors through